Thank you, Agnieszka. Thank you very much. You mentioned that we wouldn't have three speakers, but only two.
Yes,
So whom
Christina,
are we missing?
the middle person, Christina.
Christina,
Yes, she
okay.
actually had to cancel due to illness.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody is ill lately.
This is the season.
Yeah, it's the season. But nevertheless, it's really my big pleasure to host this session. Now not with three, but with two wonderful people whom I actually know in person, whom I happen to know in person, which is nice. Olga Smetanová, whom you have seen now as one of the co-organizers of the Renewable Music Project, and Krzysztof Marciniak from Poland, whom I think I met in Warsaw as one of our guides for a sound walk.
Yes,
So
it's a pleasure.
I'm so happy that we can meet again, although only online. And the topics are all intriguing and connected to music practices and ethics and so on. So first, it will be Olga Smetanová from Slovakia, who happens to live in Prague now, right? And I should present you who she is. Olga has an extensive experience with not only Slovak, but also international music institutions and environments. She served as a president of the Slovak Music Information Center and IAMIC for a long, long time. She directed the Music Center Slovakia for, I would say, like 17 years or so. She was really good at enhancing its reputation on a national and international level. She led Slovakia's Slovak participation in MIDEM, Classical Next, Musicora, Menstrual Renew Music, and so on and so on. She initiated so many projects that supported composers and young talents. Lately, she was also the general manager of the Prague Philharmonic Choir. Therefore, she lived in Prague, and she established Euphony Festival in Warsaw. So she has the connection to Poland, very strong connection. And yeah, and she's also the Secretary General of the ISCM, International Society for Contemporary Music. And I would add that during the pandemic, Olga started studying sociology, which surprised me a lot. Now she holds the BA degree and she's pursuing her MA studies at the Charles University in Prague. So that's Olga and her rich life.
Yes, it is sort of secret, is my student background. But anyhow, okay, so thank you very much, Eva, for your kind words. And it seems like the topic, my topic is a little bit off the topic of the conference, but I take it from the perspective that if we want to have eco music written, then we have to really support composers, because the composers are those who have to survive and we have to sustain them somehow. So this is my topic also about. I will guide you through the project, which was a research project focused on measuring satisfaction of composers with the institutional support for their works in Slovakia. But maybe you will see some similarities, and I would like to hear more from your opinion from your own countries. So I will lead you through the background theoretical framework, which was underlying the research, and then a short description of methodology, and also I will show you the main results. So as for the theoretical background, I used two key sociological theories related to the arts, which was the Pierre Bourdieu's theory of forms of capital. I'm not sure if you are aware of that. Specifically, he has a concept of status inconsistency, which I think very well connects with composers. And then the second theory which I used was the labeling theory by Howard Becker, which frames classical music creators as a social outsiders. And he describes this theoretical perspective in a sort of two definitions of outsiders, but we will discuss it maybe later. So these two frameworks were selected because they offered critical insights into the specific aspects of contemporary society. Especially in Slovakia, often by individuals lacking expertise in the cultural domain, has severely undermined the sector, contributing to its gradual erosion, especially in Slovakia. We observed a significant status inconsistency in the profession of composers who possess substantial cultural and social capital, yet this is not reflected in their economical capital. Composers experience this inconsistency due to their elevated cultural standing paired with the low financial compensation. In Slovakia, the notion of composing as a viable profession barely exists. If considered as a primary means of a livelihood, of course. Many composers depend on other jobs, often in education, to achieve their financial security. As composition is not regarded as a profession deserving sustainable financial rewards. Despite of their high level of education and respect within their fields, their income still remains irregular. They often depend on scholarship and commissions, providing sporadically. Social capital plays a crucial role in the careers of classical composers, as their success often hinges on collaboration with other performers or other artists. However, the inherently solitary nature of composition, especially the period when they are writing new pieces, which demands the focus works, can limit their ability to achieve cultivated social networks, especially for emerging composers. So the emerging composers maybe are forced to dedicate more time to building connections, which of course prevents them or distracts them from their creative pursuits. The other concept of outsiders is also relevant here because Howard Becker defines outsiders as those who either fail to follow the group norms or reject the authority of those who impose the norms. And for composers, I think the second definition is more valid. The dilemma for composers arises when they must choose between maintaining artistic integrity and pleasing the market demands, for example. Some may choose to ignore the audience's preferences and risk financial hardship, while others may compromise their artistic ideals to ensure a livelihood. Becker describes this tension as the conflict between the artistic and the commercial creator. Composers depend on external support, like on donors, or in Europe mostly on the public support, and this may force them to satisfy the taste, and this might clash with their artistic goals. So in order to find out how it influences the composer, we designed the research and on evaluation of satisfaction with the creative, with existing support for creative works in Slovakia, and we try to measure it on the level of state administration, on the local government and civil society. To achieve this, we employ the questionnaire-based methodology concerning factors like likely to influence the satisfaction. And these factors included composer's perspective, the structure and distribution of support, the types of organizations which provide the support, And of course, we also focused on how composers are aware of available grants, what is their professional standing, what is the success rate of their applications, and also the clarity of the questionnaire itself, because I know from experience that sometimes composers are not really willing to go through very complicated questions. So I had to take this into account. The research sample was constructed as a purposive sampling. So given that the group of composers in Slovakia is quite small, we intended to have a comprehensive coverage of all composers who met the criteria. So of course we didn't ask composers, 90 years old composers who were not experiencing the grant system at all. So satisfaction was measured using the 5-point scale ranging from extreme dissatisfaction to extreme satisfaction, and the question was carefully crafted to appropriately capture the specific aspect which we wanted to measure. The structure of the questionnaire also included the types and areas of support, as I mentioned. So there were key dimensions of international support, which was well, actually I have to say that as a typology of organization, then we used only 4 kind of groups. It was Slovak Arts Council, Music Fund, then regional schemes, and the civic associations. And the second dimension we focused on was the orientation of support, as you can see on the slide, which was divided into 4 areas: support for creation itself, then support for publication and dissemination of art, support for mobility, and then the material and technical support. This division proven to be really well reflecting what composers use, but the main area was, of course, support for creation. We also wanted to measure the dimensions of satisfaction. So we split it into the 3 primary categories. Each was described with 2 sub-dimensions. So as we measured the financial sufficiency of being measured by amount of support and frequency of support. Then there was administrative burden, which is expected to apply for the grants. This was measured by time consuming and complexity of administrative work. And then we measured also satisfaction with communication of institutions, which was communicated while preparing or submitting the grant, and also speed of decision making. And then, of course, connected with the theories which I introduced, we saw that there might be different differentiating factors which can influence the satisfaction of composers, especially as we knew that the composers have different status in the society. So we measured the position, which means the employment status. So we anticipated that most composers would balance between composing, some of them full-time, or some only few, and then a combination of composing with full-time employment and combination with maybe work in other music fields. Then we also measured their membership in arts organization, because we saw that it is a contributing factor to the social capital of composers. We measured also awareness of composers of how which grants are available, what grant opportunities they have, and whether they applied for the grants for financial support through different schemes. And then final differentiating factor was the success, which was evaluating through the composers' achievements, which is awards or performances in major festivals at home or international, and also whether they have publishing contract or not. So we approached 70 composers, 56 men and 14 women, for participation, excluding those who are no longer actively composing. And data was gathered through 29 question survey, which response rate was 48%, out of which 88% responses were fully completed. And so what we aimed at finding out, actually, the main research question was, what is the overall level of composer satisfaction with institutional support of their work? While also as the secondary questions, we wanted to measure which types of support are mostly used, what is the level of satisfaction in different types and area of support, how they rate grant providers overall, and what is the level of trust in transparency of decision-making among the key institutional providers. So we were kind of aiming to reach the answers, and we also formulated the questions which were leading to these answers. Well, interest in the grant opportunities is exceptionally high. It was 91% of respondents applied for the sum time of grant during the reporting period, which also shows that it aligns with our assumption that those who completed the questionnaire had applied for a grant, but also it answers, the explanation why it's so, is that the frequently utilized support comes from Slovak Arts Council. Specifically, it was creation of new works. This is exceptional outcome, as the council remains the only supporter of new music creation in Slovakia in absence of commissioning from other organizations. So support for creation of classical and experimental music, which is this first column that I showed, is 100% of respondents benefiting from that. So composers widely rely on writing the commission, and they ask for support from the Slovak Arts Council. Now, the overall index of the satisfaction was 50%. So you can say that they were satisfied, but and the high satisfaction was with the amount of support, which was 61%. Composers were satisfied with the amount they are receiving for writing their work. And the speed of grant decision making was 51%, slightly over the average satisfaction. The lowest satisfaction, which influenced the overall result, was also the administrative burden with preparing the grant application, and the satisfaction was really low in that. Most composers, we ask also what suggestions they have for improvements, and most composers agree that the scheme needs a huge improvement, especially in terms of grant-related information. This grant-related information was specifically connected with the regional grant scheme, which were not very much into the knowledge of composers. And they wanted also to improve the transparency of decision-making process. Then in overall evaluation of institutions, as you can see, maybe you don't see the explanation. Fond na podporu umenia is this Slovak Arts Council, and the satisfaction, or kind of overall satisfaction with the institution, was actually Slovak Arts Council, because this is the main supporter of the creation of new work. But Music Fund emerged as a primary supporter as well, only slightly with a smaller percentage. But Music Fund holds the highest level of trust concerning transparency in decision-making, which is 68% of composers trust their decision-making. Regional schemes contribute minimally to support creating creative works of composers, and private capital, as you can see, it's totally neglected. So composers trust the music fund the most regarding transparency of the decision making, and we measured that this trust is linked directly to the higher participation of composers in the music fund grants committees, which is significantly impacting the overall satisfaction with the institutions. Now, the social capital of composers, as you can see, 75% of composers are members of some associations. So it confirms their high social capital, in fact, because these associations play a significant role in nominating members to the grant committees, particularly in case of music fund. So where the Society of Slovak Composers has the right to appoint members to the grant committees. This influence is reflected in the results, which show a strong correlation between social capital and trust in the music fund decision-making process. Notably, 42% of respondents participated in some grant evaluating committees. A comparison between Music Fund and Slovak Arts Councils is also very interesting, because composers are less involved in decision-making in the Slovak Arts Council, where their participation is only 1/3 of those in Music Fund. So as a result, Music Fund enjoys greater trust among composers for the transparency in decision-making process. Still, despite this, the Slovak Arts Council remains the key player in supporting creative work in Slovakia. Our expectation that most composers work full-time or part-time in addition to freelancing as artists was confirmed. Interestingly, success in the field is not significant factor impacting satisfaction. I thought it might be, but it is not. And it is because in our sample, the most successful composers did not apply for grants during the reviewed period, despite their information was okay, so they knew about this, but primarily obstacle why they did not apply was overwhelming administrative burden, and those composers who are getting commissions anyhow or are often performed also internationally don't have time to apply for the grants. So
we have a few, only 5 minutes to close the.
I am concluding now, Eva. I wanted to say one important thing, that this research presented here was done before the significant changes in the grant system in Slovakia. It is important because since then, the cultural landscape in Slovakia has undergone a profound transformation. And what we see as a 50% satisfaction is now maybe seen from the current perspective in sense of nostalgic optimism, because the current climate, especially concerning the Slovak Arts Council, casts doubts on the sustainability of this support. So I think that cultural freedom, which is really often discussed in Slovakia currently, is a crucial pillar of sustainability because it protects and nurtures the development of different artistic practices and then enriches cultural ecosystems. And together, cultural freedom and sustainable support for creative works has to be truly supported. It is essential that decisions regarding grants and other forms of support remain grounded in professionalism and artistic merit. And to assure this, such discussions should be made by independent decisions. I mean, decision about the grants have to be done by independent commissions, free from political influences and biases. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olga. May I ask you, because I was really surprised with one thing. It seems that organizations like orchestras and ensemble do not commission, or they do not pay the commissions, as it seems from the survey. What is the case in Slovakia?
Well, actually, it is easily foundable how many commissions, for example, the big state-supported institutions give to composers, but you can see how often the first performances are there from, I don't want to name any particular orchestra, but you can find out easily. So it is really, and from what I presented, that 91% of composers want to write a piece and they are looking for support from Slovak Arts Councils, means that there are really very little opportunities from the orchestras. Of course, there zero. There are some commissions, but it is really little.
So is it the case that the composers have to apply for grants in order to be able to have a performance of their works, even with established organizations?
Also that. So you have a different approach to it. First of all, you have to write the piece. So you are sort of asking for some support to write a piece, so that you have, for example, 1 month to write the piece, or you want to, whatever, you want to finish it for some ensemble which doesn't have money to give you a commission. So then you ask for the Arts Council to give you assistance, financial assistance to write a piece. And then you have a second problem, which is if you don't have a ensemble secured before you write the piece, then you have to look for the ensemble, right? Or you look for the orchestra. So you risk writing the piece without having security that the piece will be performed. So it's complicated. This is what I say, that composers cannot rely on some income from only this artistic work. But it is maybe everywhere like that, because I know quite well also some other countries. So I know that it is not the exception in Slovakia, but how minimum these commissions we have for composers in Slovakia, this is maybe exceptional. So this extreme.
What was very surprising for me was that the composers are so satisfied with the level of support. I was wondering, because usually nobody is satisfied with the amounts of support. Here it's the opposite. So are the composers so modest, or is the support so high?
Well, actually, I was also surprised by that, but imagine that you can, well, the overall satisfaction was only 50%. So there is always room for improvement, yeah, and it is clear. But the satisfaction with this support for writing a new piece was higher, was 60%. And it is because it is primarily source of support. So if you want to write a new piece, then you are happy for whatever you receive. Yeah, so that's why maybe. So it is not so much that how much you receive, but that you receive at all some support.
Do we have any questions from the audience, from all of you who are unfortunately hidden by the avatars? I don't see anything in the chat.
I would have many questions, because
Please, Bella, ask.
what I hear is all the structures resonate quite a lot in my country.
In Hungary, yes.
Of course, we can view this research, which I found very interesting. So something I haven't experienced in Hungary, that anyone would have done anything similar to what Olga was presenting. So I really enjoyed it. Of course, there are many questions which come up in my mind. just to say a couple of things. First of all, I find that, these ideas of central support, the support itself looks very centralized and, covering the field of composers. And it resonates a lot from the socialist ideas we all went through after the Second World War. I wonder how the market should be part of this. Classical composition is a global phenomenon, and I don't think it can be looked at as country-specific only. So we are on a global market, and I'm wondering how composers should be encouraged to take part in the global market rather than just waiting for support from the government. That is one question. The other question is, if we look at other field of arts like painters, writers, whether the government should support all these fields equally, or more or less, or I don't know how they are supported, whether they are supported at all, whether writers are more up to market conditions than composers. There are many questions. I don't think we are.
We don't have, unfortunately, all the time.
We cannot really discuss, but there are lots of things. We could do a conference on this topic.
Exactly. And as I'm watching the clock, it's 12:02 right now.
But we started later, right? Or we started later.
Well, we started 12:30 approximately, and therefore you had half an hour. And I am seeing Krzysztof in the middle of a greenhouse, or what is that?
Hello, everybody. Is it the time for my presentation?
Wonderful. So I was just wondering where you are, and I will present you to others if you agree.
Will be a pleasure.
Where are you, Krzysztof?
I'm at the beginning of the project.
Okay, great. It looks like a greenhouse to me. So
no, it's not a greenhouse. Actually, I will show you. It's a sit.
Oh, wonderful.
Handmade or repaired, a lot of
What a great
stories.
weather you have in Warsaw.
It's not Warsaw. It's far from
Okay,
Warsaw.
so
300 kilometers from Warsaw.
Okay.
I'm at Romanówek, which is a tiny village close to Lublin, 50 kilometers from Lublin south. So we are like 60 kilometers from the Ukrainian border too.
Wow. So Krzysztof Marciniak is based not only in Warsaw, as we see. He is a musicologist, eco-musicologist, ecologist. He translates and writes on music. He actually gained his degree in musicology, right, at Warsaw University. And you wrote about Peter Eblinger's music.
Yes.
And which I really found great, you translated The Tuning of the World by Mary Schaeffer to Polish.
Yes, unfortunately, it's still not published.
Oh.
I'm searching for somebody who could share this book with the readers. I'm happy to have it translated.
I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, as a performer, curator, and educator, you cooperated, among others, with Ujazdowski Castle, which is an artistic residency place, right?
Yes, also. It's
With
a big
Warsaw
art institute. It's also an artistic residence place. Yeah, but it's a huge contemporary arts institution.
With Warsaw Autumn Festival, Sanatory of Sound in Sokołowsko, which is in the south of.
It's just to the Czech and German border.
I know about it.
Yeah.
Great place, great event. And you publish regularly texts on contemporary music, ecology, sound art, in magazines like Ruch Muzyczny, Glissando, that was mentioned today. Znak, Dwutygodnik, and Now, which I know, but you are a student in ecological farming course, right?
Yes.
At Ecological Folk High School in Grzybów, and you are a keen gardener, which we can see behind you. So this is Krzysztof, and he will be talking to us on ecoaesthetics.
That's really complicated title. It was created a year ago, and it was even not the beginning of the project where I'm sitting now. It was Ecoestetics of the money made on sound art projects.
And well, you have those two parallel careers of a musicologist and gardener, right?
Agroecologist, let's call it.
Okay. And you will be talking about how these two careers are interconnected and what are the best practices?
I will definitely talk about interconnectivity in many different ways.
Great. Wonderful. I'm keen on hearing that.
Yeah, first of all, please interrupt whenever you feel that there's something to be added, because I will try to speak as freely as possible, and I'm not like into finishing or like making conference on the subject. As you said, it's about interconnectivity, so it's also connected with myself. I'm a musicologist, I'm an agroecologist, and curator. So these three parts of my, let's say, activity will be here. Will be here in this talk, let's say. So about curating, because it's probably the most important part in this context of ecoaesthetics. In this case, I used to work in CCA Ujazdowski Castle. And I used to work with sound art projects there. It was called Sound of Culture, Culture of Sound. It was made by 5 partnering institutions in Europe. We were the only Eastern European part of it. And 2 of the institutions there were located in the countryside, in Finland and in Portugal. So this was very inspiring for me. As I worked in the middle of the city, I felt, wow, they have such a great opportunities to create ecological art there. So when we talk about, let's say, interconnectivity, I wanted always to create some kind of, let's say, space for artists and activists and so on and so on and so on, you name it, where we could regenerate in arts, in ecosystem, in work, in the garden, with plants. And it was always my dream to, let's say, revive the idea of houses of creative work. I'm sure that for many people in Eastern Europe, this concept is quite common, because it used to be the communistic idea of, let's say, how do you say, hotels for artists, where they could work for a long time, for example, to finish book, to paint a painting, and so on, or prepare a composition, write a composition. So this could be great to have such a place in countryside. A tiny one. Also, I have to say that also the source of inspiration, the main source of inspiration for me was one of the last houses of creative work in Poland, which was at Wigry. It was called Dom Pracy Twórczej in Wigry. And the curator there was Agnieszka Tarasiuk, who was also curating very important art institution in Warsaw, Królikarnia, because the House of Creative Work at Wigry was closed. And Agnieszka is a contemporary art curator. It's important. She's also into post-artistic approach, in which I will talk about later. But important thing is that she created this crazy idea, like 15 years ago, of contemporary arts in the bushes. Like, here. To put the contemporary arts in this wildness, or let's say semi-wildness context of the countryside. Yeah, so this her approach is very, very inspiring for me. As I said, we are in the beginning of the project, and it's like literally because I moved to the countryside, to this particular place 10 days ago. So I would like to introduce you to the space, which will be definitely a space for the project of sound art, which the money will be made on with eco-aesthetical concept. Okay. So I cannot see I cannot see the camera, so I will please, if you don't see if you don't see something, tell me. I will try to introduce you to the place. Well, I will try to make it from the permaculture point of view. In permaculture, you have the concept of areas. You have area number 1, area number 2, area number 3, and so on. And the center always is a house. So house itself, I will show you. It's a terrible rubbish there. There are some mushrooms also. It's a terrible mess here because we already just moved here. It's an old Polish house made in the 60s. It's wooden. It doesn't look like wooden house, but it is a wooden house. We have a very nice ceiling, you know, and paintings, and a very, very nasty kitchen, and we have no heating. Actually, now we are at as everything is connected. Also, myself here in the sweater and freezing, I'm connected to this broken chimney because we have to repair the chimney. You know, the old chimney had some mankements, you know. So we have to change it. So this is the first area. The second area, let's say, is the closest proximity of the house. Here is a doggy. The seat, I told you, this is a great concept. It was built here by the former owners. It's a place for parties. You can see. Used to be parties here. So this is, let's say, the second area. And the third area will be the farther surroundings of the house, which is the space where garden used to be. Here you can see the berries. They are still here. They are still. You can still eat them. Yeah, the space is like that. We have some buildings. I'm not afraid of the weather because I have a Philharmonic here. And I will show you. So this is let's say this second or third area. The fourth area is the fruit garden. Fruit trees here, they need a lot of care. We have to concentrate on them as soon as possible. For example, look at this. This is an apple tree, and she's terribly eaten by this parasite, you know. I don't know how to call this. And this is a field, probably the most important part of the farm. On the right side and the left side of the road, this is our field. We will do our best to grow as many vegetables, as many crops and stuff, and produce food here. So the field is extremely important. And so this is, let's say, these are these areas, but the last area, which doesn't have number because it's everywhere and nowhere, is the nature. So I will show you the nature area. The last one I would like to introduce to you. So for a while I will not talk. I will just make a short sound walk with you.
So now we are going into the wild.
Yeah. actually, it's not that wild. We are already created the way to walk into. So this is the last, let's say, area of the farm, which is a bit, it's wet. These are like the trees that grows in the wetland. They are called Oľga in Polish. They have a very beautiful mushrooms here also. As you can see, there's a lot of water. I will probably not. Okay, I can go with you and I will talk. I will show you the stream. So this is still the area of the farm. But about money, arts, and aesthetics. Money. Well, if I can imagine activity less profitable than making art, it will be ecological farming. Exactly what we want to do.
At least you can have something to eat.
Yes, you create food, that's great, but every ecological farmer I know, and I used to work in many ecological farms actually, tells the same. It's beautiful to create food. Let's say the field can be full of pumpkins and beetroots and potatoes and stuff, but to sell it is a problem. To sell it is a pain. And so we have a problem because we want to, let's say, survive not only in the, let's say, practical point. Oh, this is beautiful. Sorry, there are still some butterflies. Oh, this is a stream. So this is the end of the. It's let's say the wildness area, but it's also I'd say artistically potential. So about money, ecological farming doesn't work economically. We need some support from government and stuff. And actually, most of ecological farmers with this kind of circumstances as I have here, with small piece of land, a bit of buildings and so on, they start something called agro. How do you call it? Agroturistics, yes.
Agroturistics.
I'm not really into it. I don't want it. Why? Because when you create, I want to have a house of creative work. I want to create this kind of space. Why? Because the farm we want to create with my friends, you've seen them in the camera for a while, we want to create a space of work, a space where we create food, and creating food is a huge time cost. So this will not be a space for rest. It will be a space for work in a way.
Work therapy.
So it's not a good space for people to come and chill out. That's the problem. And when we speak about money and art, well, making art itself, so creating art ourselves and trying to sell tickets or something, is not an option, I'd say. It never worked. Even though I will be always in this 50% of unsatisfied artists if I try to maintain my farm with money made on sound art itself. But if we talk about economical survival, we have to create a small art institution. This house of creative work, artists in residence, you call it. So this way, we will have a win-win situation. We will be able to found very well if we are successful in collecting governmental supports and stuff, and this is possible. Actually, working in artists in residence programs, I got this intuition, or let's say, I'm quite sure that it's possible to find fundings for this kind of residencies. So we can offer accommodation, we can offer food, because we create it, we can offer unique ecological space for creating art, which is like, that's what we can offer. We cannot offer money ourselves. We have to take it from government. And this way, income from the project and ecologically conscious art occurs together. And well, I would say also as a curator, I always have this problem that, well, it's really great to make projects, but sometimes it's absolutely impossible to treat it as a source of, this is not money for living, this is money for, I don't know, for books or for something, but you cannot really maintain working this way, at least as long as you want to live here. So with these projects, with this kind of governmental money, we could both pay artists well, find money for their projects, good money, and pay also for curators, because time is money. If I myself, in this case as a farmer, had to survive without any other fundings, I should take the tools and run to the garden now, and not participate in any kind of conference. But I believe it's possible to interconnect everything. So that's it. That's about the money, but everything is like interconnected in this speech. So what about aesthetics? Or ecoestetics. First of all, I already mentioned the concept of post art. Well, we wrote about this with Monika Żyła a bit in the text, which was called, it was in Glissando 1.5 years ago, and it was called G for Generation, or P jak pokolenie. Well, we took the idea of post art, which is common in contemporary art circles in Poland now, let's say quite fashionable. The idea is quite simple. It's to take the tools, to collect the tools of art and introduce them to everyday living and interconnect them with everything, let's say, we do. So I am a musicologist, and my musicological knowledge can somehow influence the way I create the space around. Or I'm a dancer, and I can dance in the forest to learn how to move around and where to create the paths. Yes, which is very. It makes great sense. Or I'm a painter, and I will find the best possible colors for the house, which will be much better than the one you choose as a musicologist, blind and so on. With this post art concept, we with Monika were trying to, let's say, continue the path, and we would talk about post sound art and finally post music. So the experiment, post music will be definitely using tools of music to shape the environment in this particular case. Tools in very wide sense, as you will hear, as we talk here about money also. So practical realization of this idea will be probably at least the trial of preparing this kind of ecological, ecoestetical space for artists here in Romanówek. And as art created in the farm is totally connected with everything that happens here, the entire ecology of the place is aesthetically connected to the artwork. We cannot divide it. Let's take a look at some examples. We were talking about money, about fundings for composers. Yes. So when I, for example, as a music critic, have to judge a piece, which will have about which I know, or it's known because there was a scandal. It's known that artists were badly paid or not paid. then it's impossible for me as a music critic to divide these two elements, and it will influence negatively on my aesthetical experience of the piece, for example. Yes. But we can find an opposite direction. We can try to find a way to positively treat this thing. When it is money that helps the ecological farm to survive and to produce food. So this approach is to, in a way, in a very, let's say, simplifying everything, it's like to create art and make food creating art. To connect this, to interconnect very strongly these two activities, because we can maintain our gardening activities, or let's say the farming activities in total, we can maintain because there are like various extra incomes. Like one of them could be making art, sound art here. It can be also producing various different stuff that we are thinking about here, but it will not. We will not be forced as farmers to maintain or to survive economically with the money we could be paid by the customers for our food. But I wouldn't talk about this. I'm not that cynical. I would say that from my point of view as a curator, this is a great opportunity. I see that this kind of interconnection, this kind of semi-institution somehow merged with the whole idea of the farm. This can produce a great aesthetical effect. And between farm and it can be fruitful. It can be absolutely aesthetically fruitful. So that's why I, as a curator, I don't like compromises in curating. So I don't feel this is a compromise. I feel this is a synergy. That's it.
12:28, and you're great. I don't see any questions, but please feel free to ask anything. But I'm very curious about the concept. You are against the agrotouristics.
It's not about being against. It's about a lot of people who make it are tired of everyday new people and so on. It doesn't help.
Yeah. But my question is, if you want to connect farming and arts, but what about education? Let's say, have you thought of working with school kids from the neighboring villages and towns to integrate actually them into your project, because they could, enjoy both the arts and the nature and farming. So I personally would find it really enriching for the kids and also maybe for your project. Have you thought about this?
I would say,
path?
first of all, I would like to apply for work as a music teacher. I mean, there is a subject in every school in Poland that is called music, and sometimes there's nobody to make it, and everybody hates it. So maybe they will have a free, a job for me. This will be the way probably to get to know the school very well. I also worked in school, so young people were like working there. I mean, the young people learning at schools, they treat school itself as a great, as a main cultural, main source of cultural engagement. So they expect that school will give them the option to, for example, visit some place and learn something like gardening, for example. Here, people really knows about gardening, and this wood is not that funny for them. But we can, for example, one of my dreams was to invite children walk through because the stream you've seen, it doesn't have a name, and to create a name for the stream, and to make a walk upstream as far as we can reach the beginning of the stream.
Yeah,
For
it
example.
reminded me of a lecture 2 days ago about, sound walking with kids and so on. So maybe that's the path for you. But I also see 2 hands by Mieczysław Kominek and Agnieszka Cieślak-Krupa.
I'd be happy.
So I don't know who was the first one. I think Mieczysław, right?
Okay. As far as I know, you are a musicologist. How do you know how to work on the farm? And to
First of all,
produce
food.
food.
Well, it's a long story. I used to travel for 3 years in Latin America, working at farms all the time, various ecological farms. So I got experience there. And I'm also studying. I used to make studies at SGGW, main, let's say, the agriculture university of Warsaw. So I used to make a 1-year course there just to be able to buy a land because that's also
it's
complicated.
It's not for me. It means you are a real farmer.
I hope.
Yes, that's sure. And Agnieszka?
Yes, thank you, Krzysztof, for this vivid presentation. I think your project is really great. And I'm wondering if you already received any financial support, and if not, where do you plan to seek funding for this project? Because it's quite unusual, I think.
Well, first of all, we have to start a foundation. We even have a name for it. It will be Foundation Krzak. So we will start writing our applications then. But well, what's important and here is that for me, really, the priority is the garden. Okay, now the priority is the chimney, and I have to finish the chimney because it's cold, and the only source of heat at my home now is my dog at night, and it's 0 during the night. So like it's interconnected totally. Also, all these areas, let's say the permaculture areas of this farm. So for me, the garden is the priority at the moment. So I will not be like crazy to start the project from this official point of view and get money now for it. I have some budget for beginning, let's say, which is absolutely necessary. If somebody moves to the countryside, he or she has to think that, well, at least some big percentage of the money you spend to buy the land, you have to keep to change the roof if it breaks. So I for now, I don't feel the axe on my neck. That's why I can work probably more calmly.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think
Thank you very much.
Daria Jablonska here, who introduced us to her concept of music theory for kids, including also sound ecology and sound walking and so on. I don't know whether you two know each other, but I think you absolutely should talk to each other. Hi, Daria. I really loved your presentation 2 days ago.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
It will be nice to get to know.
I'm sure there are music schools too in your surroundings, and not only music schools, because music subject is in every school, and it would be so enriching to hear about, kids listening to soundscapes and contemporary music, not only to old masters, but really live in the contemporary world.
And also playing with sounds and processing it.
Yes, exactly.
They don't even have to know it's art, it's contemporary music or something. They have to have fun.
Yes.
That's the main probably approach I would like to achieve.
This is wonderful. Yes, of course.
So thank you very much for the
Learning by
opportunity to introduce the beginning of the project.
Yes, and it's 12:35. Agnieszka, are we 5 minutes late, right?
Yes, but no worries. I think it was so interesting that it was worth to stay 5 minutes longer.
Yes, of course.
But now, yes, now we invite everyone for a lunch break. It's 1 hour and a half, and we reconvene at 2 p.m. for the 7th session of our conference.
It's a pity that we will not have our lunchtime together.
Yes.
in
Yes.
person.
Yes, of course.
Very pity.
At
I
the
could
farm.
next year I could invite you to my house, but today I have
Okay.
no cooker,
Okay.
no cooker, nothing,
No chimney.
no chimney.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you very, very much for this great opportunity.
And thanks to everybody for being with us and enjoy your lunch break, right?
You too.
And see you in a while.
Thank you. See you at 2.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.